A Fox News alert. A new retaliatory threat from Iran less than a week after Israel's counterstrike against the regime. As the Ayatollah says, last Saturday's IDF strike, quote, too big to ignore. And they could deliver on that threat before Tuesday's U.S. elections. Iran sources adding, quote, the response of the Islamic Republic of Iran to the Zionist regime's aggression will be definitive and painful. Here to react is retired four-star general, Fox News senior strategic analyst, and chairman of the Institute of the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, 20 sites, 100 aircraft. Many people said limited. Israel held back to not get a retaliatory strike. You viewed that strike very in a devastating way, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, very much so. The military effects of that strike is beyond what's being reported, because they have literally taken down most of the Russian air defense system, the so-called S-300 missile defense systems that the Russians gave them years ago. And that's what's really protecting their nuclear enterprise, their oil and gas industry, and other key strategic assets like the missile production factories that the Israelis did destroy at multiple sites. Those were ballistic missile factories, by the way. So, yes, this air defense system destruction is really powerful, because Iran is sitting there essentially naked. And they know full well that if they conduct another significant attack on Israel, their vulnerability is absolutely staggering for Israel to come and do a completely comprehensive attack, which would likely have economic impact on them, not just military impact. The nuclear targets I don't believe would be struck, because they need U.S. help to do significant damage. So I think it remains to be seen what Iran's going to do. They're saying they're going to use Iraq to do this, but that won't change the scenario for Israel, whether the missiles come from Iraq or the missiles are launched out of Iran. They're being obviously executed by Iranian leaders, and Israel will hold them accountable. And Iran, as I said, is very vulnerable here. We'll see if this is bluster on the part of the Iranians, or are they really going to deliver another comprehensive attack. Remains to be seen.
It should be noted that the foreign minister was in Russia, and they're helping out Russia and Ukraine, and they will evidently have a handshake agreement on some type of missile defense deal, but that takes time to put in. Real quick, North Koreans, between 8,000 and 10,000, seem to have reported to the battlefield fighting for Russia. I'm seeing some reports that there's a lot of dead North Koreans already who have been put up there like cannon fodder, almost like the prisoners when the Russians bailed them out of prison to go fight. What are you thinking their role will be?
Well, ISW is reporting that they are in Kursk. That's the salient that the Ukrainians have achieved inside of Russia. And they're wearing Russian uniforms. They've had some basic rudimentary training in Russia before putting in there. I mean, what we've got here are troops that have never been battle-tested before from North Korea. We have no idea about the quality of their training. I would assume that they're selected troops, more like special operation forces, who represent elite forces in the sense that they receive more resources than the rest of the troops in the North Korean military. I don't think this is a decisive thing. Russia needs people. They're losing 30,000 people a month that are killed and wounded. 57,000 actually in just October last month, the most significant losses they've ever had in the war. So they need people. If this is going to be a pipeline, in other words, they're going to get 10,000 a month, that would be significant. Right. But if this is just 10,000 and that's it, it will not be decisive. Even in the Battle of Kursk, it will not be decisive, much less the overall war in Ukraine.
Yeah, and General, it's just what they get in response. Do they get more sophisticated cyber intelligence from Russia? What does Russia give the North Koreans in response to what the North Koreans have already given them? So if they're going to come out of the dark ages, we'll have to keep an eye on it. General, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Have a great weekend, you and the team.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.